This is TAZA, a knowledge series brought to you by Alliance for Coffee Excellence and Cup of Excellence.
Great. All right. Excellent. Raul, thanks for doing this. We're all curious to find out how things are going for you and the family, but I just wanted to introduce you real quickly. We're recording this for later, and then we will do a Spanish translation as well with Gary. Gary's on the call right now, and okay. We'll kind of take it up. There's Gary.
Raul, how are you doing? ¿Qué tal?
Very good, and you?
Very good. Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's good to see you too.
Okay. I just wanted to introduce you to the audience. Raul Perez from La Soledad, fifth generation farmer in Acatenango in Guatemala, and a perennial winner with his father Henyo for the Cup of Excellence. And we just wanted to have a chat and catch up on some things and just welcome.
No, thank you. Thank you there, and hello to everybody.
Great. So I guess the first question I had is, how's your family? How's everybody doing in Guatemala that you're working with, and family and friends and colleagues?
Everybody so far is safe and healthy. We are here having isolated at the farm, so for us it's been okay. The whole country it's on lockdown from 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. It's a lot of restrictions to travel around, and also a lot of businesses are closed because, as you know, this disease is bringing a lot of chaos to the countries. Here in Guatemala, the president just said yesterday that we have 36 cases of this virus, and all of them are in quarantine. So far, everything seems to be contained. But as you know, if you have just a small amount of time to work, everything is very slow now in Guatemala, slower than usual. So dry mills, shipping, and everything is a little bit slower than we usually are having in Guatemala. But apparently everything is working, exporting and importing in Guatemala. It's been working. All the customs are working, so everything seems to be okay so far.
Great. Yeah, we've been in touch with on a cafe, almost daily, just communicating with them regarding the competition and trying to attendance in Guatemala City, and that's been reassuring to have their full support to make sure that we can continue this process so we can have an auction. But I'm curious, for those that maybe don't know you, to talk a little bit about your experience and your journey with Cup of Excellence. I think from my recollection and records, it looks like you and your father have won 7 times, and since 2008, maybe going back.
Yeah, I think our first one was 2006, if I remember correctly, 2006. And then we have 2008, 2009, and 14 and 17. I think it's like 5 so far. I remember that we have 5.
Wow.
Yeah, we have been placing in different places, like 19, 20, 16, 10th, and the last one, or the highest, is 4th place. So yeah, it's been all over the place.
Yeah, no, that's exciting for us, and obviously for you and all of the people that work for you that are dedicated to quality. And I think the last we saw each other was in Boston with George Howell at the panel last year for Expo, and unfortunately this year, because of everything, we've had to cancel. But I learned a good amount about your farm and your dedication, and I'm curious. What was the original impetus to enter Cup of Excellence in the beginning?
At that time, my father was running all the show at the farm, and we have this invite from Ana Cafe to submit some samples to a competition, a coffee competition, and we said like, yeah, why not? It's a competition. We'll see how our coffee will go. Thinking that we have some good lots, but we were never expecting to is in the final auction. We just wanted to see what's going on or what this competition was about. We submit a Caturra at that time, I think, a blend of Caturra and Bourbon, and we placed like 18 or 19 plays. And we saw that we have access to more people by doing this auction, like more customers, more roasteries, people that it's hard to reach as a single farmer. So we just submit the sample, and we saw the results that our coffee was auctioned with a nice, really good price, and trying to open a new window of a market for us, basically.
Well, that's great. Yeah, I suspected that relationships hopefully forged with your participation. And obviously, I guess it's been something that's been impactful or brought you relationships and not just new business is great, but also it's probably fostered some great relationships around the world with the program and with your quality.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just about, like you said, like a business relationship, but you create new relationships around this coffee industry, which is, for me, is also very important because you can share more information, you can share, exchange experiences, and you can develop your quality in a different way. It's not just about selling one time and doing that. For us, it's a long term. It's always like a long term as a coffee farmer. You need to plan for a very long term, and it has been opening as well some new customers for the farm, but mostly it's the connections that you're getting around this industry.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And I mean, I think I maybe asked this at the beginning in terms of your family and everything, but as far as the employees and the farm itself, it's running at a slower clip just because of everything that's happening, or have you had to make any major adjustments? I mean, are you finished harvesting?
Yeah, we finished harvest almost like 3 or 4 weeks ago. So for us, the biggest issue has been moving the coffee from the farm to the dry mills. And processing those coffees. That has been the major adjustment that we have to do. Our workers, well, they live around the farm or inside the farm, so they don't have to move. So everything for us is it's good so far. At the beginning, it was a big issue or a big concern about the food, and the people was going to the town and buying lots of food, and the food start to raise the price for corn, beans, and all the eggs and everything else. Prices were getting higher. But we also have good friends around here, and then we collect some food, like enough corn, rice, beans, and eggs for all the workers for a month. So we are safe on that matter with a very controlled price. So our workers will not suffer so far.
That's really good to hear. I'm sure just providing that level of comfort and assurance is critical. And, of course, we're experiencing that here in the U.S. too, in terms of just trying to assure people that their access to food supply and very similar. I was curious about other farmers and other farms in the area where you're at in Acatenango. I mean, are you? I'm sure you're close with many people that are in the region, and you're probably all talking or at least sharing some level of information. But is there
the nearest town, and because of these new restrictions we have, there is no public transportation. So our workers, they cannot go and buy together. We have other relatives around here that are facing this for the workers. So we're sending trucks every 2 or 3 days to bring all the stuff that our workers will need for the next couple of weeks or days. The biggest concern for all of the farmers that we are around here is like things are not moving. Coffee is not going out, buyers or roasters are not buying the coffee, exporting companies are not exporting, and if the coffee doesn't go out, the money doesn't come in. So that's the biggest concern that everybody around here has, that when you finish harvest, you're almost run out of money, and the money, it seems to be, is going to take a little bit longer to come back. And in some cases, probably there some other buyers or roasters, they can cancel some contracts probably, or lower the quantities of the coffee. So people is very concerned about what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm reading some articles and hearing some of the same information. There, at least from what we're seeing with roasters here in Portland and in the U.S. that I'm connected to, that there seems to be some people that are trying to keep up with the roast production, because they are maybe they're fortunate enough to have accounts that are going into grocery stores, and so people are buying coffee and trying to make sure that they have a supply of that as well, just like they have other things that they need to be concerned with, other basic goods. And so that's a good sign, but overall we still have seen a pretty large impact to the retailers, and those retailers who either roast themselves or have wholesale accounts with other roasting companies, or everybody's having to switch over. But it sounds, at least from what I've heard, that there's some suggestions that importers should that roasters should really get with their importers and increase their coffee orders to make sure that they have green coffee 3, 4, 5 months down the road. So that's a positive thing to hear. It's just whether there are vessels and whether there are containers available. I think that's the one issue, is if there's any shortages of containers, because that'll slow everything down. So as you know.
Yeah, even last year we have a shortage of containers here in Guatemala for 1 or 2 weeks. Because the weather was not helping these companies to dry the containers after they were repainted. So I imagine that this year is going to be the same or a little bit worse, that we'll have to wait a little bit longer to export the coffees, because the lack of containers will be an issue. Fortunately for us, we have roasters in North America and the US, Canada. We have in Australia and other parts of Europe and Asia. Everybody so far is having their contracts, having their amounts, except just for one. He called me and he said like he will not be able to sell to buy my coffee this year because all of his accounts are closed. So it's the only one who has been going through a difficult time, but the rest are keeping the quantities and the pricing, which is very important for us. But I can understand that a lot of coffee roasters that are based on cafes or restaurants, they will not be able to survive if they don't change as well. So.
Yeah, that's been the critical thing here, is just the restaurant service industry. The consumption is shifting to where there's access to coffee. So it seems that many, the NCA and other organizations are saying they just see a shift in consumption, but not a drop in consumption. But, it's too soon to tell just yet, but at least that's what we're hearing preliminarily. And so, yeah, I know we're going to do, Gary's going to do a Spanish version of this for our Spanish-speaking friends, and we put together some, in this time it's obviously stressful for everyone, but we're also trying to at least bring a little bit of light into some tough times. But we had some rapid fire questions. If you're up for answering, they're more fun if you're interested in answering. I can start with number one.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Number one, what's your superpower?
Superpower. I don't know. Testing the good coffees probably.
I'll take that as a very good answer.
Yeah.
All right. This one, I'm not sure. If you were maybe at one of those things, desert island thing, name your top 3 essentials.
Good beans, a good grinder, and a kettle.
Oh my God, that's how I would have answered that one. That's good. That's good. Okay, last one. If you were a coffee drink, what would you be?
I will be a drip coffee. Clean and simple.
All right. All right. Great. Well, I'm gonna update our audience here on a couple things that are coming up, and then I'll let Gary take over. And we have some updates on the Cup of Excellence for Ethiopia. This end of this week, we'll be doing the pre-selection of the remaining 150 copies that were that passed on to the pre-selection round. We'll be doing that here in Portland in our lab in a hygienic new quadrant cupping fashion with a select group of experienced cuppers to evaluate Ethiopia. Then on April 15th, we will be doing our first, well, maybe not our first, but a TAZA talks on April 15th with Peter Roberts from Emory University and Christophe Montagnon from RD2, and we'll be doing an update on the Sustainability Transaction Guide. And Christophe will be doing a presentation on the 20 years of impact of Cup of Excellence and looking at some statistical data and some other really interesting things about altitude and processing and variety. Should be really, really interesting. And just check our Instagram at Cup of Excellence, and you can get updates on when and where to join. And Raul, I want to thank you and your family. And any final comments before we move to the Spanish version?
No, just like thank you for this opportunity, and I hope that we're not going to suffer, all of us, the whole industry will not suffer too much. We are always, as a coffee farmers, we are always looking for a brighter future. So
All right.
that's what we're looking for.